balmy shores of sunny Florida to the cold winds of Chicago and everywhere in between, you're watching the Red Wimette Show, live, coast to coast. And now, Chicago's talk of the town, Mr. Red Wimette.
Hello, folks. Today is November 24th, 2025, and I am Red Wimette. Hello, Mr. Hoffman. You made it over here. I don't know how many other people are still stuck in the other studio. If you can go over there and tell the folks that I'm over here. I don't know. I'm having problems with StreamYard. It just gave me a hard time. So anyway, hey, there you are, Tim. You made it over. I wonder how many people did go over to the other studio and tell people I'm over here. I don't want to go in and out of here. Believe me. Had enough hard time getting the show started. But I can go on with the story. People can watch. What happened... This is an unusual story, and it's got a lot of background to it that I want to give you. Many, many years ago, we're talking back in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s, when Rush Street was in its heyday, right after Prohibition was repealed. And Rush Street was really in its heyday in the late 40s, mid 40s. It was really. So what happened was, downtown, there were a couple locations that there was a lot of money in liquor. I mean, a lot of money. So downtown, there was a couple locations that were gay bars. And what happened was the people on Rush Street that had other bars there said, we don't want that here. We just don't want it here. Here's a picture of Rush Street, if you folks want to see that. But that was where the nightlife was at. That was everything. I attended bar at most of these places anyway, long time ago. But as it turned out, they decided that what they were going to do is kind of ban them from that area. And they put up, oh, we're getting people coming in now. Hi, folks. Good to see you too. So, I guess outfit guys did not mix with the gay people. It was before all the, I don't know. They didn't have, it wasn't legal. Actually, it wasn't legal to have a gay bar. It was against the law for anybody to congregate that was somebody that was not what they liked. Thank you, Christina. I think I lost a lot of people. I don't know what happened. They're probably sitting in the other studio. Thank you, dear. God bless you. You made an announcement. Thank you, buddy. No Polish jokes this week. No, I'm sorry. We won't do that. So anyway, the people that were in power, I mean, really in power back in those days, or coming up in power, were Milwaukee Phill, Sam Giancana, lots of them. But Marshall Caifano, those guys were in there. And they were all part of the same group. So Sam Giancana gave Marshall the north side of Chicago. The whole north side, any rackets, I don't care what was there. If it was jukebox, if it was if you were going into Marshall's territory, you had to pay Marshall. And believe me, Marshall liked to collect. And he had plenty of collectors, although he did a lot of it himself because he didn't want to pay the collectors. That little man was tough. So what happened was he brought in a partner, and the partner was Nick Delosandro. Now I went looking. I know the story because I know the people, but I went looking on the internet for Nick Delosandro, and I couldn't find anything. But I know the history. I know the history very well. One thing I did find was there was a gay publication called The Advocate or something like that, and they had an advertisement for one of his places, but never mention of his name. They mentioned other people's names, but not his. So this is the real story. You're not going to find it on the internet. Maybe you'll find it in some book someplace that was printed a long time ago, but you're not going to find it now. So Nick Delosandro opened up a place called the Orange Cockatoo. And the Orange Cockatoo was right next to a place called the Century Theater. And it was condemned. Milwaukee Phill had bought it, just like he bought all the other theaters. He bought the ones in Old Town. He bought the Admiral. He bought all those theaters way back when. He had a lot to do with the Hollywood skim and what was going on there, the scam that went out in Hollywood, which was Paul Ricca and Tony Accardo. But Sam was, he dictated his territory. And what he gave to Marshall, him and Marshall were like that. And what he gave to Marshall was his territory. So Nick was very prolific, very prolific. He took this place. Now this is today, today's view, and that was the Century Theater. There was no top on it where you see the gray up on top. And over to the furthest part, you're going to see a 7-story parking lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-story parking lot. And that wasn't there. That was just a regular parking lot. And what they did with the Century is they tore it apart and they built stores in it. And they called it the Century Mall. Now, this was back in 1969. It was the Century Mall. And I don't know, they were getting busted left and right. And there was a law in Chicago back then that no longer exists. And that was the law about the liquor licenses. All liquor licenses, unlike other places that, they make you pay like $200,000-$300,000 for a license. You can go to any location you want, and the license stays with the location. If you want to sell the place, they have to reapply for a new license at that location. But you can't transfer a license from one location to another. You never could in Chicago. But they don't have any limit on them either. You can have 1 million licenses. They don't care. The only thing was, back in the old days, in order to get a license, you had to go to your district commander, police officer, your police commander and your district, and get his permission. And you also had to get the alderman to sign off on it. Well, this was not so bad, although it did make for a lot of graft and corruption. Everybody had their hand out. Oh, you're going to open a place? What kind of a place? Oh, a gay bar? That's risky. I don't know. Maybe we could do it for $500 a month. And back in those days, that was a lot of money. It really was. So, but anyway, what had happened was, that was really neat and interesting, was these laws were in place where if a police officer didn't like you, and I looked for this on the internet too, I couldn't find it. If a police officer didn't like you, or maybe you're not paying the guy off, or maybe you're not paying the alderman, or maybe he just doesn't like you, period. He could walk in and take your liquor license and tear it up. And that was it. you couldn't get another one. They put what they call a brick on you. Once you had a brick on you, you didn't go nowhere. But all that changed. And I'm not sure which year, but Paula owned a place. And I looked this up. The place was there at 61 West Hubbard. It was called Togetherness. And it was a girls' bar, but they had girls and guys mixed, gay people. So they had lesbians, and it was the first like LBG, whatever. And she fought the law. Her father, she was an excellent attorney. I didn't like her personally. She was a very tough woman. But her father was on the corporation council for the city of Chicago, and she was a very good lawyer. So what happened was eventually she won. And for that reason alone, you could get due process of law in Chicago on your liquor license. So it happened that way. That's what happened. Now things are a little bit different. This changed it. Changed the law a lot. By the way, we have an announcement. Hi, Jim. It's 4:20. Mr. Hoffman, we thought about applying for a liquor license at a funeral home, but decided against it. Sometimes families brought their own booze. Yeah, it was BYOB. Almost every place there's one place I went on Moody Avenue, and the actual funeral parlor was Moody and Milwaukee Avenue. And it was to the northwest on Milwaukee, same side as the funeral parlor. And they had a bar right next door. That place made a lot of money. That place really made a lot of money. It's a very good place. Thank you. Thank you for the public announcement. I appreciate it, okay. So anyway, what happened was Nick, there was one guy that he owed a debt in New York. And Marshall was very friendly with people in New York, Marshall Caifano. And this guy owned a debt. He lived in Brooklyn, had a business in Brooklyn. He owned a gambling debt. He owed a gambling debt. Marshall just happened to be there, and the guy wanted to leave town. But he was decided to the fact that he was going to be killed because he couldn't pay the money. Marshall paid off his debt, and he moved to Chicago. And he said, "You will do what I tell you to do. Open up a bar." And he did. He was clean. No license, no problem with the liquor license. He wasn't a convicted felon. So he opens up the bar and goes on. And Marshall goes out to Las Vegas. And Nick Delosandro is doing his job, just doing the thing. He's got the Century. He built a bunch of bars, just a whole mess of them. He was like, I don't know how to describe it, but there was a lot of them. And I'm going to show you a map here. That, what you see there is Clark Street, and that we're facing. And to the left of the yellow line, you will see the actual old theater. And then you're going to see the addition that went onto it. And this is all owned by one guy, Nick Delosandro, at that time. The parking lot is to the right. It's a multi-level. And all those other buildings that you see back in there, especially the ones that went along to Furzy, belonged to him. Basically, what Nick did was he bought every piece of property he could get his hands on when it was cheap, and he opened up a bunch of gay bars. But he didn't open them. He had other people, front men, open them up for him. mind you, this guy was a very rough down, knockdown guy. He ran with Marshall and Milwaukee Phill Aldericio, Sam Giancana. As a matter of fact, him and Sam were friends. They were all friends at that time. They all did business together. He was probably a killer too. I just don't know that much about him. I know this part of the business. And the only reason I do, you'll know when I'm finished telling you the story. So I'm not exactly sure the amount of money, but at the time I was told about it, they told me that that whole mess that they had going there was taking in somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000 a month. And Nick guarded that place like you can't imagine. Anybody that went into his neighborhood, that he owned that neighborhood, and tried to open up anything, he shot him, or he'd have one of his men shoot him. Tough old guy. Very tough old guy. So Marshall's out in Las Vegas because Sam Giancana sent him out to guard the skim in Las Vegas. And in 1964, he gets indicted, arrested for the extortion of Ray Ryan. And he goes away for, meantime, up to that time, Nick was giving him his piece of the action. But then he went to prison. He got convicted. And for 10 years, a lot of people thought he wasn't coming out of prison. 10 years later, he did come out of prison. It was 1974. And that's when I met him. And actually 73, but I met him just when he got out of prison. He was staying at that condo at Lake Point Towers that belonged to the Teamsters. When he got to Chicago, they put him up first class. So long and short was that he wanted to get his territory back. And he went to Sam Giancana, and Sam said, I can't help you out. I mean, I just got arrested by the FBI when I came back here. I mean, I'm going before the McClellan Committee on the Kennedy assassination. And I got real problems of my own. And Marshall was looking at that saying, well, I want my own territory back. Well, Tony Accardo told him, he said, how do I give you your territory back? It's been 14 years that you've been gone. That stuff all belongs to somebody else now. What am I going to do? Walk in and say, you got to give up everything you own and give it to him? So they had their differences over that. And Marshall let a lot of it stop. That's a lot of reason why he helped set up Richard Cain for that murder. When they murdered Richard Cain over at Rosie's Grill, or Rosie's Sandwich Shop Grill, whatever. But that's a lot of the reason. Marshall really got screwed out of his money. So one day, I own my own jukeboxes. A lot of you people know that. And I also own my video games, and pinball machines. But one day there was a guy that came by, and we used to get along pretty good. He was a nice guy. I liked him. And I called him Little Tony because that's what we all call him, Little Tony. And we're talking about maybe 1971, 72. Marshall just got out of prison, so it had to be around 73. And I was doing business with Marshall at that time. We were doing real good together. I never had a problem with that guy. So what happens? Tony tells me, he says, first of all, not everybody was hooked up with Marshall. Marshall's been away in prison a long time. And Tony says, that guy you hang around with, he sent somebody over to see Nick. And I said, he did? Yeah. I said, Nick was a mess. He said, really? And he said, yeah, I went by to see him. And he was sitting on the floor in the living room. And he had his legs crossed and he was crying. And that wasn't like Nick at all. So I pretended like I really didn't care. I just said, oh, okay. And went about my business. Later on, when I was in the neighborhood, I figured I'd go see Phill Amato. Phill Amato, we nicknamed him the Brain. That was Jimmy Kozo's father-in-law. His daughter was Tanine that married Jimmy Kozo. So I go see Phill. And I said, hey, Phill, do you know a guy by the name, because he was doing work for Marshall. He was an old timer too. He was about 60 years old. I said, do you know a guy by the name of Nick Delosandro? He looked at me funny and he smiled and he said, where'd you hear that? Who's talking about me? And I said, nobody's talking about you. I just heard something that happened. He said, who'd you hear it from? I said, one of the guys was talking. He said, yeah, we had to go over and see him. Had to straighten out a problem. I said, oh. He said, Dick and I went over. Now, that's Dick Hoyt. Dick Hoyt lived in his coach house in the back, Phill Amato's. So I went back to the coach house. I waited. I never showed any interest. I went back and I talked to Dick and I said, Dick, how you doing? We talked for a while. And then all of a sudden he told me. I asked him. I said, what's the deal on Nick Delosandro? He said, oh, you heard about that, huh? And I said, yeah, I did. He said, he owes Marshall a ton of money. And he's not paying. He's not paying up at all. So Marshall's asked us to go over and see him. And so I said, what's the story? And so he says, well, he doesn't have any cash. I mean, he's only got maybe a couple $100,000. That's it. He took most of his money and invested it in businesses and property. His son owns the pizzeria, Skippy's Pizza. His other son owns another store, liquor licenses, everything. And so he said, I talked to him. He said, Phill talked to him too. Phil's an old timer. And I said, that must have been one heck of a talk. I heard he was sitting in the middle of the floor crying. He said, you heard right. He said, I sat him down, grabbed him by the neck, and sat him down on the ground. Dick was about maybe 320 pounds or better, and about 6'2". He was a big guy. He used to pick people up and throw them around with one hand. A very big man. Definitely what you call a leg breaker. But he didn't do that with Tony, or excuse me, with Nick. He sat him down in the center of the floor in the living room in his home. And he told him, we are going to kill your grandchildren. Then we're going to kill your children. Then we're going to kill your wife. But we're going to let you live. You wanted that money so bad. You have it. Nick says, what can I do? He said, sign over everything you own. Real estate, businesses, sign them all over. He did. Dick got a little piece of it. Phill Amato got a piece of it. Marshall got his share. And that got him started. And Nick, he never existed. He moved out to Palm Springs by Tony Accardo and retired out there. I don't know what happened to his family. I don't know what happened to his anybody. He just disappeared. But he had what they called the Clark and Diversey area at one time. And I believe that was part of Town Hall District. That was the 19th district at that time. And they really ran a monopoly. It was a monopoly. As a matter of fact, I put it on the thumbnail so you folks could see what it looks like today, because there are no pictures of it before. But here is a picture on the thumbnail, and I'm going to describe it to you. You see the car that's parked over on the right, the black car? That shouldn't be parked there. That's a one-way street going the direction that that black car is parked. But if you look towards the black car, in the back of that building, or at the end of the building, you see another building on the wall. And there's a gate that goes in there with a 12-foot fence. I used to park back there. What used to be in the storefront here, where the black is in the front, the black, and I don't know, there's a mural along the side. That used to be a bar called Sherry's. All these bars were Sherry's, Ruthie's, and Nick had the Annex also. That was his original. They all were on the same side of the street, and he owned all the property. Upstairs was a funeral home, and it belonged to the Masamotos, Japanese neighborhood at that time. And the Masamotos, they spoke broken English. But if you look to the left of the black front of the window, where there's a doorway, just to the left by the silver car, you're going to see another doorway. And that address is 2903 North Clark. And the other one on the corner, where that corner is, it was square on the corner. It wasn't on an angle like that. And it was 2901. But there was a door right next to the other door. And if you look to the left of the black, like I said, and you look upstairs, you're going to see 3 windows. That was the Masamoto's apartment. And then to the left of that, you're going to see 2 windows. And that was where I lived. And the door going up to my place was that little black door that was 2003. Yeah, it was 2003. And it was a strange place. They let me have my dog when I lived there. Nice place, very clean. It's all cut up into apartments now. It's all different things. But as you can see, it's a long building, a very long building. And the funeral home went all the way down to the next big street, which I don't remember what it was, but it went all the way to the left of the picture. And it was on the lower and the upper. And that was the place where I had a waterbed, and it accidentally fell through. It collapsed the roof, and I fell into the funeral home and wound up in I did a bedtime story on. I wound up in in a coffin. No body in it, just me downstairs. And I actually replaced the floor and everything else for the owner of the funeral parlor. He was screaming at me in Japanese. I didn't know what he was saying. But that's the way it was, folks. As far as Nick goes, like I said, I don't know whatever happened to him. And as far as this, I don't know what the story's going to be on it, because I can't find anything. There's nothing written. The computer doesn't care. Christina Morris. I haven't heard that story. I'll have to go and find it after the show. Go find it, because I couldn't find anything. I mean, I just couldn't. Now, Anthony, you might know something about this area, because you know something about everything in Chicago. Rafflin Network. That's funny. My buddies all lived on Oakdale and Clark. That was Oakdale, the side street that I just put up. They used to teach you about going to Sherry's. That's Sherry's with an H, or an S, rather. Sherry's was an S, and I lived right next door. I was next door, and it was kind of a notorious weirdo bar. It was a gay bar. That's what it was, Sherry's. And it was owned by Frank Tosti, who was out of Brooklyn. But everything along that whole street, going east of Oakdale, or going to the right, as I looked at that picture, actually I'll put it up again. Everything to the right belonged to see, you're just seeing the building, and that was Sherry's. That's Oakdale right there. And Oakdale was a one-way street going where the direction of that black car is. And there was no parking on Oakdale, period. Nothing. Nobody parked there. But the whole area was run by Nick Delosandro back in the 60s. He had the Annex. He had Ruthie's. Like I said, the Orange Cockatoo. He had Ruthie's 2, which was further towards Belmont. The guy made a lot of money. Just Marshall never got his share. That's all. Did I know Cozy? He hired all of us to deliver papers. No, I didn't. I really didn't. I really didn't know a lot of these people there. My only connection was this is because I knew Marshall. And that turns out to be odd too, because the guy I was telling you about, Little Tony told me about it. This is kind of combining a lot of things into one video. But Little Tony told me about Nick, and he wanted me to buy some jukeboxes from him, or he wanted to put jukeboxes in my place. And I said, Tony, I got my own. And he said, oh. And I was heavier than he was at that time. I was with Marshall, and he was coming up. So Little Tony later on turned out to be Little Tony Zizzo. And while I was busy, with the porn shop and doing my thing on Wells Street and everything, Tony got himself killed. Nobody ever knew what happened to Tony. But Tony's date of birth and everything, he goes back to, like I said, Giancana and all the rest of those guys. Anthony, you're the first person that's even talked about whoa. They lived in that courtyard building you can see in the picture. This courtyard, I lived upstairs on the 2 windows on the left, and that was 2903. Tony Toes, Little Tony Zizzo. Little Tony said to me, he wanted to do his thing, and I told him, I said, by the way, I said, I'm going to help you out. Get your jukebox, the yellow building with the billboard. Let me get to it in a second. So I told him to get his jukebox out of the bar. It's a Puerto Rican tavern over by Jimmy Kozos. And he said, the jukebox. He said, I make a ton of money off the pool tables that I have in there. And I said, not anymore. I said, that place is going to go. And he said, what do you mean it's going to go? And I said, it ain't going to be there anymore. I said, Jimmy's putting an in-ground pool there. And he said, he can't do that. And I said, he can do that. So I remember when they had a fire once, I said, this time it's not going to be a fire. I mean, he's going to blow that place up in the air. And so he said, oh, I got to talk to somebody. I got to get my machines. And I said, you better hurry up and get them because they're not going to be there that long. As it was, guess what? The building went. So that story went. But Tony was an interesting character. The yellow building with the billboard. Let me look and see what I see. What I see is the mural that's on the side of this, but that was on Oakdale. That was Oakdale. And that building went back to, you see where the black sign is. There was another building there. And I used to pull in there. I actually used to pull in there and park. It was off the street parking, hard to get. And they're very good to me. Very, very good to me. I enjoyed them. Good people, exceptional people. So I'm going to look at some of the other things I put up. Which one are you talking about, Anthony? The yellow building with the billboard. Gabby's barbershop was across the street. Yes. Yes. Newton's burnouts. That had to be in the early 70s, guy. I was gone and out of there by then. Maybe this will help you, Anthony. There's the old Century Theater. It's everything in yellow belonged to Nick Delosandro. But today, it's there's the 7-story parking lot next to it. All that building up on top where the roofs are at, everything. That's what he had to give up to Marshall. It wasn't really worth that much then. Now, it's worth a fortune. The one on the north side of Oakdale, just east of Clark. Okay, north side of Oakdale. This was across the street. This is on the other side of the street. So actually, the place, everything that's in yellow. So it's on the north side. That's the side that building was, 2901, 2903, 2828 was the Century Theater. That's what that was, 2828 North Clark. Clark and Diversey. Scott, it is worth millions now. Like to the tune of 400 or 500 million. I mean, it's worth a lot of money now. It is not like it used to be. But anything else that you hang on to is worth a lot of money. It's not like it used to be. 70,000. It's a lot more than 70,000 square feet, guy. I think that's like 5 acres in the city of Chicago, or better than 5 acres. That parking lot was at least 2 acres. I used to pull in there and do donuts with my car. So it is worth a lot of money now. Anthony, you're right. If we went there now, we wouldn't recognize where we were. I recognize certain things because of the architecture of some of the buildings that are left. But I don't think I really know my way around there anymore. Well, that parking lot deck must bring in tons alone. It's a 7-story parking. Hey, Austin, how you doing, buddy? Austin is my new barber. Austin gave me a haircut today. He's a great guy. Adam. Oh, Adam's getting us a view here. How you doing, Austin? Good to see you, buddy. I stopped in there to talk to Austin about one thing, and he said, I could clean up your hair for you, and he did. He did a great job. And all the way home, I had my dog in the car, and all the way home, I could smell this beautiful fragrance. And then all of a sudden, my dog started sniffing and licking my head, and I called him back, and just before I went on the air today, and said, "What's the name of that stuff? I gotta get some." But he's definitely my barber from now on. That's it. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, buddy. Helping me out before Christmas. Thank you, too. I don't know if he can hear me or not, Adam. Adam put that up for me. But Austin and his great haircuts. Yes, they are fire. Austin. Yes, sir. You are the man. You're the man. Okay, buddy. you're the man to me. You did a great job to me today. I mean, you are cool. This guy he not only did my hair, but he trimmed my my sideburns. He actually shaved the back of my neck. Uh, he got carried away, started fixing my eyebrows, everything. I mean, he was doing it all. Great guy. Austin, we're getting a compliment already. John Cooley got you looking decades younger. Not too bad for a man 76 years old, huh? I'm enjoying it, folks. I really am. Okay, let's get back to Parkway Theater, Oakdale and Broadway, McCann's, Diversion Clark, Road X-ray. That was all a long time ago, man. This guy is a real barber. He's not afraid of anything. He's good. Excellent barber. And he's young. He's not going to die on me like the rest of them do. I outlive most of these people. Austin is 30 years old, I believe. I took him for about 30. Anyway, it's good seeing you, Austin. And I hope you enjoyed the story. If you want to listen to some of my other stories, there's a lot of them. Basically, he sounds like he is a real barber guy. Yes, Adam, show us your new commercial out in Las Vegas.
I'm pretty sure this is where they buried him. This is where they buried the bodies.
Okay, maybe not, but the stories are wilder.
I shouldn't even be telling you this, but the next tour leaves soon. Don't make me come find you. Book now.
VegasSpecialtyTours.com. We run daily at noon and 3 p.m. Hear the real story.
Love it, Adam. I love it. For you, for Austin, people that don't know, I went out to Las Vegas for a book signing, and Adam showed me around. I had a great time out in Las Vegas. Had a great time. Put my dog in the Duchess. I put her in the kennel with the vet, and that was it. Looks great. I like the Lake Mead one too. She likes I like the Lake Mead one is cool. That's on Facebook. It's very good. I like it. Okay. Red, your story of Mr. Melius is great. Sounds like the principal and Beavis and Butthead. It's just something that happened, guy. I never planned anything in my life. I just did everything off handle. After I got home from Vietnam, it was like I didn't care about anything. Eduardo, he says, I cut my own hair, and you can tell. Well, somebody took out a notch out of my hair, and you could tell too. And I walked in, and he kind of looked at it for a minute, and I said, yeah, really. And he said, let me straighten it out for you. And he did. Austin. Great. Let me get your business card, buddy. Austin, if you're still listening, put up your business location, or the name of the business at least.
Today on the Vegas Mob Tour, we are going to find out who is in the barrel at the bottom of Lake Mead.
Rate my outfit.
Just kidding. We stop right above them on the Vegas Mob Tour.
Book now or sleep with the fishes.
Visit VegasSpecialtyTours.com. We run daily at noon and 3 p.m. Hear the real story.
Adam, how long you been doing tours, Adam? Type it in there. How long you been doing tours? 246, 8 years? 10 years? Wow. Adam's been doing, they are good. His tours are great. If you want to see the house where they film Casino, he goes right past it. And if you're real lucky, the owner's a hell of a nice guy. They invited us into the backyard when I was with Adam out there. They treated me like royalty, very much so. Anyway, that's a great commercial, Adam. I love it. But don't miss the Vegas tour. If you get out to Vegas, believe me, you'll be sorry you missed it. If you want to see things in Vegas, or you like to gamble or whatever you want to do, you're not going to find the 20 years. You've been doing it for 20 years now. Wow. 20 years. Wow. That's a long time. But it's great. I mean, it's not like the Mob Museum, which advertises a lot, but it's really good. X-Planet Guitar. Note for Adam. I drove a yellow substitute school bus once for the Chicago Black Untouchable Tour, and the guy brought a Tommy gun on the yellow bus that day by Chinatown and also by Clark Street, Valentine's Day. Okay. That sounds like he was with Junior. Anyhow, folks, anybody have any questions about Nick Delosandro? Everybody knows what happened to Marshall after that. I mean, I wrote about Marshall in my book, but Marshall, he was, I don't know. Marshall was one of those kind of people that he just let things go after a while. It was that way. So, anybody got any questions that I can answer? I'll be glad. No questions. Okay. Adam, I think we're doing a show on Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. And we may even do an after show. I don't know. Adam will get with me later. We talked about it yesterday. So you don't want to miss the Vegas tours, though. He has other tours, but that's my favorite. It really is. If you're going out to Vegas, you go all the way out there, you want to see it. The Untouchables tour. Okay. Well, meantime, folks, unless I see you, and who knows, I may not see you till after the holiday, after Turkey Day. I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your families and everybody you love and care about. And you'll probably see Adam and I in the future here. I would assume. I'm guessing. But thank you all for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you can. If you're not subscribed. Lisa, I can't. Buy low, LOL. Have a good night. Thank you. I will. God bless you, one and all, and we'll see you soon. It's Red We Met. Out.
The combination of the videotapes and Ouimet's testimony resulted in the conviction of 2 men on extortion charges. One of them was Frank Schweiz, known in syndicate circles as the German, a feared mob terrorist and a suspect in a number of gangland murders.
He was described to me by other outfit individuals as the most feared hitman And as he said to me, my reputation precedes me, son.